curious, in terms of connections, what can blogging do for you? I mean, has it been helpful for you meeting people, real life, online, or even not so much?
If you're a professional writer, a lot of people, consult with folks like me, really suggest that having a blog is pretty key if you want to make connections professionally. But I really dig that, yes, whenever I post an image from an artist, you'll also find a link to their website or someplace where you can see more of their work. And I have to say, at least through the Tumblr community, I've definitely come across some people that I wouldn't have known about otherwise locally.
I am an extrovert, I'm an introvert, so this has put me in circles of people that I would never have encountered anywhere. And I met Bethia through my blog. And actually a little shout out to Melissa, who was the first person really to put us in radar as far as in print. We mentioned our first taco truck tour that we were doing, so actually the first time we've already physically been in the same place, so that's kind of nice. And then all types of things too, the world of Twitter, which I thought was like, well, I'm not doing that. And Facebook, I'm not doing that. So I actually do that as a side business, where I teach people how to do Twitter, Facebook, and I will manage accounts for them, do training and things like that. So something that I thought was kind of a little passing phase is something that will help people with on the side. And Twitter is actually a great tool as a writer or as a blogger to let other people help you do your research. I mean, I will put out a question such as, what are the best donuts in town? It's something I've been working on a lot this year. Or where is the best regional sandwich, or where is the best fried chicken? And you get answers quickly, and it's a neat way to kind of engage people, and people just pop out of anywhere to answer these questions for you.
To me, it's just taking what everyone's saying here. Two things that seem really apparent. Blogging is not about putting on a fake identity, if it's going to go well, actually, right? It's about using a persona to be more yourself in ways, and to put yourself out there, right? So it's kind of really about authenticity that way. And it's also about that, putting yourself out there with some intention. I think for me, it legitimizes what I do as a writer. I feel very comfortable going, yes, I'm a poet, here's my work, you can see it here, it's all here, it's kind of evidence, kind of what everyone's been saying here. And connecting never means schmoozing to me, or kind of in a fakey, let's use each other to social climb or something. It definitely doesn't seem like that. It seems much more like this, just dialogue, right? And conversation, and I mean, learning ideas. And everyone I meet online who has a blog they care about and devotes time to it, they're so generous with their time and with reading other people's work and agreeing to do things like this, that it really strikes me how generous artists and creatives and writers and people who blog are. And if anyone is thinking, should I start a blog? Yes, that is the answer. You definitely should. And it's like, oh, should I do this on my blog? Yes, that's what you should do, always. I have to say, like, if you have an idea about it, do it, do it. It will so be helpful to you. I just wanted to leave a few minutes. I didn't even realize that this has gone so quickly. Just wanted to leave a few minutes for questions.
The question I have for you guys is, do you ever feel overwhelmed with information? Like, basically, I just started my blog, and I travel a lot for my job, and I'm more moving, but I want to blog, and it's just like, I don't get a chance to do it, so then I get overwhelmed, like, oh, I gotta do this, and I have to do that. Like, how do you cope with the overload?
This might sound kind of silly, but it's something that I had to learn pretty quickly, and it's different for everybody. But I really needed to draw some boundaries right away, and very early on I decided how much I was going to share, how I was going to let the blog, what role it was going to play in my life. And like I said, it was relatively easy because my project was very disciplined and very specific, and that really helped me because it gave me a pretty shallow learning curve. But you have to really think about those things, I think. You know, before you start, or even as you're going along, just decide what it means to you, what you expect out of it, what boundaries you're going to draw, because it can really be really easy to get overwhelmed, not only with what you think your responsibilities might be to those who expect you to continue posting, but there are so many blogs, so many wonderful blogs, and so many amazingly creative people that you can completely be drowned in an avalanche of fantasticness unless, again, you draw some boundaries. Like she said, sometimes you have to step away from the computer. And And that's really, really very essential. So boundaries are really, really important.
I get a little bummed as well because I had like a cycling blog that I was doing, and the photography, the music, I have the DeviantArt, got Twitters, Facebooks, everything. So I found like every 6 months or so, I was just trying to stop and just figure out what's not necessary, what should I kill off. And if I got to the point where I was wheeling it down to a core thing and I still was feeling overwhelmed, well then I had to change how I was doing that. And that's when I took the music blog to the collective way. I just just completely revamped it, just shut it down and reopened it back up. And went to a Tumblr for the photography instead of having a Tumblr and a portfolio and that kind of stuff like that. Just kind of.
Midst of birthing my website, and I just came for inspiration. And the main thing I'm dealing with right now is I'm consumed with the possibilities. So how important is branding in this whole situation, or is it not important at all?
I would say choose a name that people can pronounce in terms of branding and spell. We actually made a t-shirt one time that said, "What's a Tsuru anyways?" since nobody can spell or pronounce the name. You definitely want to do a Google search too to make sure that, I don't think, even when I started a blog with a business, I never thought this is going to be a big thing, people are going to follow it, but you never know where things are going to go. Obviously you don't want to overthink it, but I think at the same time you want to do your research and make sure that you're not taking a name that somebody else is using, or close to somebody's name, or infringing on things that you shouldn't be infringing on because you never know where things may take you.
Stay with the name. I think it's helpful to have a name that fits with the content, so that if people see the name of your blog or hear it, it's going to give them some idea of what it's about. Because sometimes feels like you look at a blog and there's a real disconnect with what the name of it, and you're like, oh, this wasn't what I was expecting it to be about at all. And I think that then kind of becomes hard for people because they don't really understand what it's meant to be about. But when it comes to branding, apart from making it clear to people what the focus is, I think the main thing is the content. I don't think you shouldn't get too worried about the branding and that kind of thing. It's, are you putting out there something interesting for people to read? You're giving them some useful information or an interesting opinion, or kind of provoking them to think about something they haven't. I think the content is what will keep people coming back. The branding is almost irrelevant, and especially because a lot of people, if they like your blog, they subscribe to the Google Reader, and then they're never actually on your site looking at the background and the colors or whatever you have there. They're just interacting with the content.
I think what sort of unites everybody on this panel is at least to some extent, there's a niche that they are reaching out to. And you don't want to be a slave to that, obviously, but if you're far enough along in the process, you know who you want to reach with this, and it's just a matter of honing that and making it work best for you and best